Okay. Wonderful.
Awesome.
Hi.
Hello.
The purpose of this video is basically to discuss the conversation that we have about our brand new corporate structure, and the sensations that people might be having, at first glance, to what it is we're talking about. So, what we're talking about is a totally new business model that we've coined our blissness model. And what we're going to do today is I'm just going to be asking some questions about basically the history of the last little while between myself and Jensen, and also I'll be bringing Sophie on in a second, and just to discuss where our hearts and our minds were at when we first were viewing some of the initial notes, details, as it were, that I was presenting. So really what we're doing here is we're freeing up the conversation of the cynical mind looking at what we're doing as if we have everything under control or we have a total understanding. We'd really love to free up the mind to give it just a mustard seed of faith in this process, so that you can, with an open heart and an open mind, be with us in the creation process. So I'm just going to start by saying that the first person that I started an active conversation with was Jensen Bellin, it really depicting what we wanted to see in the future, which was a relationship that works for everyone, a win-win work environment. And we went back and forth on a bunch of different things, but this new way of working is what we're going to talk about now, because Jensen and I have been in a relation for a while. So this is something that we're bringing to the world of this year, 2012, and it is something that is very fresh and very new. And so without further ado, I'm just going to hand it over to Jensen and say, Jensen, what do you want to say? You have anything on your heart you'd like to speak about this? Or
Well, we have been working for a number of years with one primary purpose in mind, which was to find or create a way for ourselves and those around us to only do what we love to do. We shared a similar interest and belief that anybody who's doing what they love to do will be way more effective than people doing what they don't love to do.
Right. Exactly.
So when this last few months ago, maybe 6 months ago or so, you came in with all kinds of visions in paintings, in writing, in ideas, and I didn't understand most of how it worked for a lot of the time over the last number of months, but I could feel it, and it all pointed at the same thing: doing what you love to do and doing it well. And that was enough for me. And so I've been totally supporting it and seeing incredible results every day, and now I get it really well. We have something here that's wonderful to share with the world.
Yeah, it was really interesting at first. I'm a person, like people will say I'm a visionary, but I'm more than a visionary, because in the sense of being able to put my reputation, if I have one, on the line at any moment by speaking whatever's on my heart. And I brought in all these paintings, and I said, this is a business model of how people could work in a partnership that's designed like light, or like a circuit in electronics. Electricity flows, and I tell you, it takes a certain type of person, which I have here with both Sophie and Jensen, to even have an ear to the possibility that this could benefit them. And I tell you, it was amazing to see at first. Jensen's just amazing amount of faith that he first went, okay, let's go along with this. Let's go along with it as role playing. Are we saying we need to call ourselves different names? That's fine. Whatever we call ourselves, let's just do whatever it is that creates the end result of being, you do what you love the life that you live the life that you love, and everybody's happy. And as he started to understand some of the unique importances or distinctions that I was making to the order of things, he recognized the efficiency right away. Not like efficiency that you could stand back and say, oh, there's money being made here because it's efficient. But efficiency and lack of contractions, lack of
emergencies,
lack of miscommunications, lack of feeling, in danger when you're in a partnership. Like the sensation that your partners may not know what you do, or maybe cut you out, or there's all these other conversations that are involved in typical partnerships. That this cycle and this consideration, it is not. It is in no way just focused on like what you create in a business platform. It is all encompassing, and Jensen was on that tip right away. I mean, he was realizing that if I'm going to be in partnership with this person Ryan Hawks and this person Sophie Pack, everything that they do in their life is relative to me. The way that they sleep at night means that they're more efficient to work the next day. They're more efficient to be in bliss. Everything about everything.
Right.
It's not just like, oh, go home and you do whatever you want to do. Come back and when you're here where we work.
Right.
It's really an all-encompassing lifestyle of blissness that all of a sudden really gives, I mean, at least what I've experienced is the bond that is not just like a nostalgic bond that like, man, we've been through some stuff,
right.
but like really feeling as if we're a part of something that is new and needed and necessary and people are looking for.
Right.
So, anything else you'd like to add?
No, I can't see right now. That light's completely blinding me.
Oh yeah. He just doesn't like to cry on camera. That's the deal.
Man, I'm just so happy.
He's
that
just so
everything's
happy.
happening.
He's just too happy. He just
It's everything I've
don't
always
touch
wanted.
the light. Yeah, don't touch the light. Yep. Okay. And that'll be all. We'll come back with Sophie Pack when he gets his stuff together.
Cool.
All right. And we're back with Sophie Pack. Hi, Sophie. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, you're very welcome. So, Sophie was sitting just off camera when we were doing when we were talking with Jensen, and so she's aware of the conversation that we're at. And I'm just going to open it up to you. But what's on your heart? What would you like to share?
There's too much light. There's too much light being created.
Too much?
That's the that's the impression. No, in all honesty, well, when you first presented me with these really elaborate diagrams that they're works of art, and at first you look at them and they're so colorful and vibrant, and there's so many dots on them and forming this elaborate picture. My first reaction is, wow, this is a really beautiful, amazing work of art. And then as you begin to explain exactly how it depicts the process that I was to be a part of, which took a couple hours, and I think we've got that in a different video. It became apparent to me that it was really an outline of how energetically and how this phenomenon of new type of interaction is going to work. It's a completely new layout for a business model, and at first I was very confused about how it all fit together, to be quite honest. I was confused, and but I was very, my interest was piqued. And as I tried to, it was like learning a new language, even though throughout the initial stages of the process and now also, I didn't understand how exactly, the ground position and the switch position and the
Spark.
The spark, yeah, the kind of casual shorthand names for our positions were going to work, and then the elaborate. I want to keep this simple, pertaining to my experience of it. As I remained open, I kept an open mind.
Yes, you did.
I definitely kept an open mind.
Well, she's still here. That tells you something.
something about it that kept feeling true, you know, and as you know, kind of a scientist, also, I kept an open mind, and I kept trying to understand the variables as much as I could, and trying to determine the validity of what it was you were presenting me with, in terms of how efficiently we worked when we were doing it. And you just can't argue with results.
That's right.
So
I mean, you can, but the why, there's just no why to argue with something that does work. And the cynical mind will come up with all sorts of brash judgments of this new business model that I'm basically, that I'm outlining in a couple different ways. And it's the cynical mind will say this doesn't look anything like what works tip right now, and that was the point. I'm a man that I was very present to the business world having a certain type of consideration, and then this nonprofit business world having a certain type of consideration, and both of them seemed half-hearted. And what I call half-hearted is like there's the head heart, or the head mind, and then there's the heart mind, which is the heart here. And you have the corporate world, which applies everything that they can in the lopsided aspect of whatever the head decides is right, completely bypassing the heart altogether. And so they're in the rational, analytical way of doing things, up. And then that gets its results disconnected from the world in different types of things that have all sorts of fallout in different types of places. And then there's this non-profit consideration, which is really funny because that is the other side. It's the heart's consideration, really not paying any attention to the analytical side at all, so it's totally lopsided. So you got all these people working for like all these hours and not giving them any money and not giving them any, and it's like, how is this going to feed my kids? And how is this? And so you get burnout after burnout after burnout. You get all these types of fallouts for these things. So you have a consideration that's either all head or all heart, but you're not having a meeting in the center, a meeting of the two minds. And so the third option that I came up with was something that is governed by itself, in its position to cycle, and I want to be careful about saying what I came up with, because that goes into the process of how this whole thing was developed over a process of about 6 years. I simply was listening and looking and watching and observing the growing goodness of the world, and looking for what works, what feels good to both my head and my heart, and throwing out anything that gets irkiness from either one. And for a long time, it felt like I was a castaway at sea, floating around in the abyss of abstractness in the art world, doing some stuff, getting some downloads on colors and this and that. And people would look at some of my art and say, "This looks like a 4-year-old did this," because you're using all primaries, or you're using this, or you're using that. Through this process, it has been totally amazing to see how my source has brought a process of the way that light goes in order, and how that order is never in any other order. It always goes red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, always goes in that order. Does not ever reverse, does not ever go orange, pink, blue. It doesn't ever do that. And so there's a certain type of divinity and efficiency to observing how light already works. And so incorporating that process into a cyclical motion, and getting rid of the little I, the ego, the thing that says, I want to be in control. Honestly, taking a look at an inventory about why does it want to be in control? Mostly because of its fears. What are its fears? You'll look at its fears and you'll notice right away that it's because of its shortcomings, the things that it necessarily doesn't believe it does so well. Well, there's a conversation of faith as a technology, and taking on the conversation of faith as a technology is the ability to look not just at what you're very good at doing, but where you stop. Where do you feel as if you're like in a realm that doesn't feel natural to you? And that is just as valuable as taking inventory on your benefits, or your highlights, or your talents, is figuring out what it is that you don't really do, and what don't you do naturally, and kind of don't say from the standpoint is I'll never be able to do that, but say for the moment I'll hand that over to someone, and I'll trust in them completely. and I'll exercise faith as a technology, using that as a tool to allow me to feel more relaxed, peaceful, and in that way, just as everyone knows, that every tool there is, whether it be machine or human, when it's not stressed, it performs better. And so the lack of stress is something that is absolutely a necessary ingredient to the conversation of blissness. By the way, the objective of this business structure is not money. It is not to change the world. It is not anything external. It is very simple. It is that each participant, each partner, focuses on the conversation of what brings them their bliss. Their heart speaking to their mind and leading them down the road to their own bliss. And what I believe is inherent in most humans, and all humans that I've ever met, is that when they are honest with themselves and they allow their hearts to speak, that they'll find themselves in service. They'll find themselves getting joy out of service. And I'm sorry, but there's nothing in the rule books that say you can't be paid for that. That seems to me to be something that has crippled the nonprofit world, is the conversation of nonprofit. That should be the most profitable world. The world where people are going out and assisting other people and really bringing benefit to things. Let's finance that world. Let's make that world be the world that works in a real exchange way. So DoDaDi is exercising a new corporate structure as a business model. And this video is just basically the first of very many where we're going to be talking about a new consideration of business. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
Amazing, the screen went off.